Kate, it's like, how is the world still spinning right now? Like, how is this even happening that she's not here, but the world still is? Then you realize the terrifying thing of, well, how am I now going to make it in this world without her? And that's really what's put me on this path of wanting to help others to build resilience.
Oh yeah, you heard what I said. This is for my family, GodDream in my head. Oh yeah, you heard what I said. This is for my family, GodDream in my head. Oh yeah, you heard what I said.
Let's go ahead and get started then, Kate. Thank you so much again.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Am I the first Aussie on your show?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the badge of honor. I'll wear it with pride. So no, I'm excited to be here, and I love what you guys are doing with this podcast and the stories you're sharing. It's definitely needed in this world, especially at the moment.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy starting 2021, but I keep seeing all these people like posting all these memes of like how, well, 2022 will be the year, and I'm like, we can't write the year off like that. Like, I'm sorry if something happens and we're writing the year off, like we're doing something wrong.
Exactly. I mean, the thing is, just don't really watch the news. Like, I know a little bit, have to be informed enough to understand, but
Yeah.
I didn't really even know until the end of last night. I was like, oh, okay, that happened. That really sucks. But I am so mindful of, this is going to sound very coach talk, but like, just like the confirmation bias, like once you believe something is true or think something is true, like you will see it everywhere. And so I've just decided ahead of time that 2021 is going to be an amazing year. So my confirmation bias just filters out the crap because I can't control it. So why focus on it? Like, it doesn't make sense.
That's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I loved that.
Yeah, and honestly, for anyone who's like listening right now, just a little detail about Kate. We actually have the honor of like working with her, and I took the risk of shooting her a message, and I was like, I think I even said it right in the message. I was like, I know this may not be professional. I'm like,
Oh no,
but
I was honored.
but would you be down to be on our podcast and like share? And I mean, she was incredible enough to say yes. And the reason is because you have a phenomenal story. Like, you've been through a lot, but you're doing so much. And like, the podcast is GodDream TV, and it's like people that are pursuing a God dream, like something that's bigger than themselves and just is out there, And so that's really why we wanted to bring you on, because you're affecting lives every single day in such a positive way, and that's like your dream, right?
Yeah. Well, I've got to say, when I heard you say, you have a phenomenal story, instantly my brain goes, because I had and have a phenomenal sister. It really is what it all comes back to is, the way my sister lived her life inspires me deeply to this day. And I think of her in every day in the smallest ways of before I, sit down to record a podcast, or I'm scared any little way. Like I feel her here with me and her wisdom. So I don't know if you want me to kind of dive in and share a little bit about her and that part of my story.
Yeah,
Started?
Would
absolutely.
love to. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So my beautiful big sister, Nicole, was just one of those girls that would walk in any room, light it up, an amazing dancer, tons of fun, a little bit, I guess, spunk to her. She wore a heart in her sleeve and would speak her mind at times. I sometimes wish she had a volume button. She was super loud. And I was like, oh, she could just turn you down a little bit. But just live life with such amazing energy. And there was 4 years between us. I'd always looked up to her since I was born and just adored her. And so it was back in 2012, she was on a well-deserved, what we call holiday, what you guys say vacation. I'm always constantly having to interpret and translate things in my head now. I should get you guys to guess some Aussie slang before we finish. It's a lot of fun.
Yes, I'm down.
But anyway, she was over there in Thailand with her boyfriend Jamie, and they were just having a really relaxing, amazing holiday over in Thailand, when on the 20th of October 2012, my family unfortunately woke up to the unthinkable phone call that Nicole had been killed in a motorbike accident. They were literally turning into the driveway of their hotel when they were hit by a local rider speeding on the wrong side of the road. So uh, fortunately, Jamie was okay, but Nicole pretty much took the entire impact. And just a few hours into surgery, we lost her. And yeah, I'll never forget hearing my phone vibrate on the floor that morning. And it was interesting. I knew because when I flipped my phone over, it said it was my mum. And you know, about 3:30 in the morning when your mum's calling, like I thought maybe it was like a drunken call from a friend or something. But when you see it's your mum, you're like, oh
Yeah.
crap! I just remember my stomach sinking, and then I yeah, in that moment when she said, you know, she's been in an accident, and then the words later she's dead. It's I think the hardest part to do in those moments is even just breathe. You know, you're like, how do I take this next breath? And then the other terrifying thing I think is, and anyone who's lost someone close to them might be able to relate. It's like, how is the world still spinning right now? Like, how is this even happening that she's not here, but the world still is? Then you realize the terrifying thing of, well, how am I now going to make it in this world without her? And that's really what's put me on this path of wanting to help others to build resilience, because through that, long story short, I could go on and on and on forever. But basically, because after in the weeks after losing Nicole, I began researching into overseas accident and how many other poor families have suffered what we've been through. And that's when I discovered that an Australian tourist is now, you know, dying over in Southeast Asia every 17 and a half hours from,
Wow.
yeah, I like at least once a day, a family's receiving a phone call like my own. And it was really that which ignited my spark to firstly go on this. I created a travel safety campaign and took it around Australia, speaking to high school students about not taking risks overseas, because my sister wasn't wearing a helmet and it's something that she never would have done back here in Australia. So I was really just like determined to do something in honor of her life and to save another life. But yeah, and then being a dancer and a passionate performer, we also give grants to struggling performing artists and sports people in her honor of just love of following your dreams. So she would have been all about this podcast, guys, because she
Aw.
loved watching people. She would cry at the Olympics, watching people get like gold medals, and just be like, I can only imagine the training that went into that. And she was just, yeah, so amazing like that.
Oh, she sounds incredible.
Yeah. You're meeting the best parts of her through me today. Trust me. She comes through me in every way.
I love how you said that you want to help people build like that resilience. Um how do you build that without going through pain?
Well, that's not possible. I can't help you skip the pain, that's for sure. You know, in the weeks after losing her, I did spend many hours just lying on the floor, you know, broken, crying. You go through the whole grief phase. There's no way past that, right? In fact, grief is a part of healing from the loss. And you know, and I also say we don't grieve because we lost, but also because we love, right? It's because I
Yeah.
love my
Wow.
sisters so deeply that that's why I feel that deep pain. And so I will forever hold space in my life for the grief, because the only way to remove it is to remove the love. And I would sign up for being Nicole's sister 1,000 times over just for the joy of having had her for 24 beautiful years and yeah, getting to experience being her little sister. So I think for me, resilience, especially like when in true adversity, you know, like loss and trauma and, you know, extreme things like that, you can't avoid the suffering. But what you can do is choose to find meaning in it and purpose that goes deeper than the pain, right? And like what you said, you got to think beyond yourself. And so rather than why is this happening to me, why my family, it was, you know, how can I stop this from happening to other families? And rather than why can't I turn back time and, you know, change what happened to my sister, it's like, how can I carry her forward with me? So it really is about, like what I said at the beginning of the episode, where you put your focus, the story you choose to tell. You know, how can I get angry at the world for taking my sister when it's the same world that gave me to her in the first place? Like, it's the way you tell the story and what you choose to focus on that I believe makes all the difference.
I love that so much. I think for me, I can't necessarily relate to that level of pain. I haven't lost anyone close to me, but I have found myself like getting stuck in almost negative thinking.
Mm.
And I know like the model and like what you're supposed to do. I just think for me, it's hard to practically do it. So if I was in your situation, I don't know if I could have done the same thing. Does that make sense? Like, what
Yeah,
was it
I
that
think
rose up in you and just like you conquered it, and like now you're using it to impact a ton of people. And I think that's just so powerful.
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know if there's like I wish there was a straightforward little cookie cutter answer I could give you, but for me immediately it was just like when you are in that much pain, like I would have said the same thing before I'd lost Nicole. I'd forever be a powder heap on the floor. How do people live again? But if you look around in our society, you'll see examples of this everywhere. The super survivors, the post-traumatic growth, right? But that isn't in spite of the pain and the trauma and everything. It's the extension part. Like you still go through the post-traumatic stress, and
Yeah.
then it's that next phase. And for me, like humans, unfortunately, are motivated by like two main things, like love, but a big one's pain, right? So when you are in that
Yeah.
much pain, you do begin to want to do anything and everything you can, I think, to find your way out of it. And for me, being aware of the model, and a big part of it for me was like that driver who killed my sister. He was breaking the law when he did it, but he was never charged for his actions.
Wow.
And the way my family was treated over there by the local authorities was a bit questionable. So there was every reason to just shut up and hate on the world and just become really bitter. Like, how dare they take this most amazing human, and how dare there be no justice in her death for the least? But I realized as long as I am blaming him, I am handing over all of my power to him, right? He gets the final say. And I was like, no way. I am taking back my power here. My family really did have a choice. Are we going to go back to Thailand and try and fight for justice, where that could be a long and never ending, exhausting fight? Or can we choose to put our focus where we do have way more power and influence? And that is by starting a charity in her honor, the Nicole Fitzsimons Foundation, and really just giving all we can to honoring, all the way that she lived, and what, we're learning through our experience. And, it was a big, like, I just finished up my university degree, and I had just finished up my university degree, and, was trying to start my career in the corporate world when this foundation began. So I left a corporate career that I'd worked for 4 years. I just started a new job. They gave me this fancy schmancy title. Like everything was supposed to be going in one direction. And then I just woke up one day, I handed in my resignation, and I threw myself headfirst into Nicole's
Wow.
charity. Yeah, a lot of people thought I was crazy, and I was. But I
Yeah.
think back to you, Brandon, when you have gone through that level of pain, you find this bravery because you're like, hang on, I thought I would have stopped, my whole world would have stopped if I'd lost this person, but it didn't. I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm messy. I'm in pain, but I am here. And anything else that happens after this, if I can get through that, I can get through anything.
Wow. That's
That's
so powerful.
Yeah, that's extremely powerful. I was gonna ask you, because naturally what happens, I say naturally, I don't know if this is really it, but from the majority of people that I've met, when we experience some sort of pain like that, right? We don't want to feel it. And I was talking to this guy last night, and he helps people like deal with like traumas and all of that stuff and heal from them. He's like a healing coach or so. I forget how it like you explain it, but he was talking about like he said this one thing, and he was like, "This is like what I base everything off of." He said, "You have to feel it in order to heal it."
Mm-hmm.
And naturally what we do, like, I'll be honest, like my grandma, she passed away this year, and she was like the glue to our family. Like nothing's been the same in our family since she passed away, unfortunately. But I didn't feel it at first, and I wasn't letting myself because I had to kind of like try and keep my family, like at least my mom, and like all of them together and be like the spiritual leader of them and all of that stuff. And so for like that moment, like it's almost like I just like shut off, and I was like, I can't right now. I can't
Mm-hmm.
deal with it. And I think a lot of people deal with that. For everyone listening, just so you know, my power went out yesterday, so we're we're finishing off the podcast now. So this is part two.
Part two.
But we're just gonna go with the roll with the punches.
Rolling with it. We wouldn't expect anything less for the way the world's at the moment.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
for
exactly.
real.
2021 will not ruin this for us.
Fall down 7, get up 8. So
Exactly. So you remember the question I was asking then, right? Like, pretty much what made you not just callous yourself to the pain and
yeah.
actually like feel it and move you into like what you moved into?
Well, I'm curious to ask you, Frank, how long do you feel like you kind of shut down on the pain for with your grandma? Would you say it's like a few months before you really
Mhm.
opened up and felt it?
Yeah, yeah. I remember. I think it was in November. I came home one day and it was after church, and I came home. I was making some food, and then I was you know how like if you're gonna watch Netflix, you get your food and then you sit down, and before you even eat, you just gotta find what you're gonna
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was kind of like doing that, but I had my Google Home, like a big one that had just came home, and I had just connected it to like set it up and stuff, and it was sitting right over here. And then it was a picture of me, my little girl, my grandma, and it just like that's what it had just hit me, and I just
Mm,
like broke down.
yeah.
Um and yeah, and then after that a couple more times I just like let myself feel it. But yeah, it was definitely like
A
probably
few.
3-4 months.
Yeah, because I was just going to say, firstly, just from doing my research into grief, and as I was going through the experience, and also I had a beautiful friend who was a nurse, so she was had been kind of exposed to family going through difficult times like my own. So I
Yeah.
learned firstly, like when you go through something quite traumatic or you lose someone close to you, your body actually releases a lot of chemicals, hormones, like has a response where for the first like couple of months you actually don't really go that deep into the grieving process because they're functioning to just try and get you to keep functioning, to keep going, to do what you need to do to get through
Wow.
it. It's actually quite an amazing thing what our bodies is capable of it. So I wanted to say firstly that's actually quite normal to kind of like hold it
Mm.
together and then let it go. I wouldn't necessarily say that was resisting the grief. It could be just a part of that first initial process of it. Like for my family, we did all just like launch into, I think you said you'd launch into helping organize things for the funeral and keeping everyone together and things like that. And that's why our body does that, so we don't just completely fall apart straight away. It's quite an
Wow.
amazing thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't say like I was instantly on the ground, bawling my eyes out, but your
Yeah.
body does know how to take care of you. So that's why on top of that, if it was going past that, and, it had been a year or two and you'd still never really cried or felt anything, the way that I help people deal with extreme emotions and how I deal with my own, because grief is still an ever part of my life, because I'll ever miss my sister, is firstly I love to remind myself like my body is designed to process emotion just like it's designed to process food, right? Emotion is a very normal part of being human.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of time, humanity has faced terror, grief, humiliation.
Yeah.
So I always like to think like at the end of the day, as extreme and as uncomfortable emotions can be, that they're completely harmless. Like they're not
Yeah.
going to leave any lasting damage. They're there just to flow through. And like you said yesterday, and it was a quote I remember saying just after losing Nicole, is you've got to be willing to feel it to heal it. Right. Resisting
Wow.
that emotion only intensifies it. It's like trying to hold a door against someone pushing against it. You can only do it for so
Yeah.
long until it comes, piling in all over you. So, yeah, I try and just breathe through it, cry through it, but allow that to happen, knowing that it's not damaging me. In fact, it is, like we've said, actually healing me to get to that next phase of, like I said, the post traumatic growth and finding meaning in the pain. But trust me, it's still the ugly cries, the red eyes, the tissues, the days where you just want to lie under the cover. But I think it's such a beautiful thing now. I will purposely sometimes go and see photos of my sister or watch little videos of her, because I feel like it connects me to her. Like when I can go in that pain, I'm willing to go into that pain to meet the memories and the experiences I had with her and feel that bond. I think it's such an honor that guy who killed Nicole, he may have been able take her life, but he couldn't take the love that I have for her. Like that's something that forever is with
Wow.
me. So I'm very grateful for that.
Jeez.
Man, so good. I had a question. So after all of this with Nicole happened, you kind of just got a passion to help others. At what point was it that you decided to become certified? So for anyone listening, if you don't know, I work for the Life Coach School, which is a coaching school that helps people either get coaching or become coaches, which if you don't know what a coach is, you should definitely hit up Kate after this. She's
Oh.
amazing. But yeah, at what point were you like, I want to help others like one-on-one?
Yeah, such a great question. So I was, touring around Australia speaking to hundreds of thousands of kids about travel safety. And when they were inspired by, I guess, the way my family had turned such an adversity into something positive and meaningful, the kids would come up, and the thing that would break my heart is they'd say, I'd never be able to do what you do. And I know that's when I would have said the exact same thing when I was where they were. And that's what I realized, like, seriously, resilience, mental strength, coping with adversity is a skill that we can all get better at with practice. And so what really motivated me to get in like certified specifically, and not just kind of go straight into then sharing my presentation and sharing my story, was I knew I had that inspiring story, but I myself love like strategies and understanding the why behind it and being a little bit more analytical, because we all have a story. At the end of the day, I don't believe there's a human that couldn't stand up and share something painful or, really hard that they went through that couldn't inspire someone. And so I love that, but I wanted to really help with the transformation and not just motivate for a moment, but really have ongoing
Wow.
support and understanding. So when I heard Brooke's podcast, I think it was back in like 2015. I wasn't, so I had kind of, Nicole died in 2012. So I'd gone through this transformation. Just, I was right into self-help and a Pinterest board with every motivational quote under the sun that you could imagine to get me through the tough days. But I didn't realize what I had actually done. Like, Brooke's tools were able to put together such a simplified, formula and strategies. And I was like, oh, I love this, because I particularly love speaking to youth. So like your teenagers and your young adults, and, they don't want the long-winded, too deep analytical, like it was just the perfect, I thought, combination to have not only the stories now, but the strategies. And so it's such a privilege now. I go out and I share my story, but also kind of teach part of the model and how to really take back control over your response to things. And yeah, it's been really quite amazing to see the impact it's had, especially for those kids who are really ready for this. Some people aren't. Some, they've still got a journey to go until they're ready to take that responsibility. But those who are, I'm just, I'm so inspired by seeing the impact it's had. And that's when a school in Idaho, America, invited me to speak to their students, and is what, I guess, began my American dream over here.
That is amazing.
Yeah, if you're ever in oh man, sorry about that. If you're ever in Texas, we need to have you come speak to our youth and young adults. That would be
I would
amazing.
love that. Well,
That'd be incredible.
Texas is open back up, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, you should see Texas right now. It's
Yeah.
completely open.
We're
Oh,
living,
really? Are
we're
you guys
living
Pretty
in it.
much.
doing masks or not?
Yeah.
They say to, but
Yeah.
Texans don't really go
Follow
with
the
it too
rules.
well.
That's great. No, but I'd love to. It's that's been tough, I think, for everyone. I know you like to speak as well, Frank, and transitioning to the online world. As as a speaker, like I had spent 4 months over here in America. I'd got back to Sydney, Australia, to see my family and that, and then I was meant to come back over here in April, like last year, and then of course at the beginning of March, everything kind of shut down. So not only was I separated from my fiance for who knows how long, but my entire calendar of talks for the year were just like, you could see them crumbling, just like, like the dominoes just going over. And that had been my focus. I'd been a speaker, but what 2020 gifted us, I think all of us, was time to think and space to create. And so I was like, you are going to finish this year stronger than you started it, like business wise. And from that, I've written a book, and my coaching, I now think of myself as a coach now. And that's really like I've next leveled that kind of coaching side of things, and I'm creating a program to go into schools and really kind of give ongoing education on all these mental health and emotional skills. So it's exciting, but I definitely can't wait till I can be back in an audience feeling that one-on-one person kind of connection, because I don't think anything can beat it in the world.
Yeah, I just thought of this also. Like my whole journey throughout school in America, not one class did we ever talk about emotion or mental health.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like
not health or
the most
science either.
Yeah, one of the most important things in your life we don't even discuss or learn about until it's almost too late to relearn. It's like you have to put in
Well, it's just so
disciplines
much
and
harder.
practices.
You're just taking a harder battle. And I will give some schools credit. I have the privilege of speaking to hundreds of schools now, and it's so different. Some really value it. Some make mental health assemblies and different things like that, and then others do the bare minimum. But my, I guess, mission is that, especially through now what I'm building, I'd love to come and speak and then have this 12-month kind of online program that the kids can access and continue with like weekly calls and just, it's a skill. None of us transform our minds or our lives as amazing, no matter the most amazing speaker in the world. We've all heard that phenomenal thing on YouTube where you're like, wow. But still, that only lasts for so long. You need the commitment and the understanding and the practice. So I'm excited. I think there's a lot of potential for schools to begin to change their priorities a little. And I understand, funding's limited, and I don't think it's out of lack of care. I just think there's a lot of red tape and different things to work through. But change happens little by little sometimes. I believe in that. I actually got, with the travel safety back in Australia, it wasn't even really a thing that people used to talk about at schools, but I was so passionate. I was like, put myself out there, started emailing. I like to say, I sent 600 emails in the first year and I got like 8 schools on board. So it was a slow start.
Pretty good. That's awesome.
I was excited. I'd quit my job. I went, like, everyone was like, even my own brother called me. He's like, what are you doing? Like, you just got a really good job. Like, you can't walk away from it. But I was like, it's now or never. Like, here's the momentum. And I don't want to, I would rather crawl back to that workplace with my tail between my legs going, whoops, like, sorry. Or then, look back in 10 years and think I could have done something for my sister that was so special, but I was scared. Like, the one thing that I was not going to let me hold me back in life anymore was just fear of failing, fear of being rejected, fear of what other people think. Because having written a funeral speech when you're 20 years old, most humbling experience. And I realized I couldn't look myself in the eye and feel proud of who I was showing up in the world as up until that point. I was quite, just scared, so I was always, a bit short-tempered and always just, it was all about the achievement and trying to look a certain way. And there was no real meaning. And kindness was often overlooked in my life. It was okay to shout at mom, or, I nearly missed my sister's last birthday, her 24th birthday. I nearly didn't go out with her because I had a university assignment to finish for the weekend. And, I couldn't risk not getting a good grade in that. And I look back now and I'm like, I nearly missed Nicole's last birthday. And that just would have been heartbreaking. So, it definitely gives you a realignment of priorities and realizes that what people remember is, not your achievements, but what you dared to go after and how you made them feel, in your presence and the effort you put into the relationship. So, I try and keep that as my North Star as you put yourself out there. I'm not perfect, that's for sure. But
so I heard a pastor sharing once, and he was talking about his dad when his dad passed away, that it made him realize like what's really important, right? And he had this whole series on what's really important. But he made a good point. He said that usually lasts a couple months, and then after that, you go and you get a bad haircut, and then you're like, ruins your day. You're like, this is the worst thing ever. And then what seems so small in the presence of like what really mattered now becomes like important again. And so you kind of lose that. you have done a pretty good job of holding on to like what's really important. Not saying that you've done perfect, right? Because you
Yeah.
probably have. I mean, you're a
Oh,
human,
we're
right?
all human, and
Yeah.
there's always room for growth and learning. Definitely.
Yes,
Yeah.
but like, what would you do to hold on to like what's really important after that moment for so long now?
I honestly, mean, there's a pretty deep answer, and for me, it's when um, my dad basically had his arms around me and was carrying me out of, the crematorium, just crying and going, "That's my sister," and the pain I felt in that moment.
Wow.
I revisit that so often, just as like, the last time I got to spend my last few seconds with her, and just knowing I got through that, but knowing that that's where we all end up at the end of the day. And my sister left me such a gift in how she lived her life. It gave me so much strength to keep living mine. And I just want to do my best to leave that behind for anyone who loves me, who knows my story, who just needs a reason to keep holding on when they're going through crappy times. Like, I think, I'm so blessed, and we all are, to be inspired by so many people's stories. And I feel like it's our responsibility, with our short time here on earth, to pass an inspiration forward, to, be someone else's reason why. And so
Yeah.
I think I don't, so much of the early days of a lot of it is foggy. You're going through so many emotions, and sometimes your brain shuts out painful memories just for, self protection. But that one sticks with me. And so whenever I get scared of doing something, or maybe this, like, I can tell you the first time I spoke in Idaho in America for the first time, like, I'd been on vacation here like 6 months earlier, and someone asked what I did, and I said I'm a speaker, and they're like, "Oh, you're speaking in America?" I was like, "I'd never get to speak here." Very funny. And then 6 months later, there I was about to walk on stage, and I was having like absolute imposter syndrome, like, ah. But then I just remember, like, I've done the hardest thing, like, and I think that's what
Yeah.
that adversity gifts us this. It sucks at the time, it's painful at the time, but it is such a, you are, every single human watching, listening to this, you are capable and so much stronger than what you believe and what you think right now. And sometimes I believe that's why the world comes along and gives us these things, because you learn that. And I think if we could have had an emergency escape button on 2020, we all would have pushed it, right? Would have been like, let's skip that year. But thank God we didn't, because look at how much, we've all grown and figured things out. I wouldn't, if someone could say to me now, I don't know about you guys, but if someone said you could have skipped 2020, would you?
No, no
No.
way.
Yeah.
No. It did so much good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I'm curious. I want to be the interviewer. Okay. Each of you tell me the best thing that came from 2020 for you. Not like in spite of 2020, but because of the pandemic.
Yeah. So for me, definitely was, so my whole life I have like had a desire to like speak and help people with finances and like with their walks, just in general, emotionally and with God. Second, I love business. And I don't know what it was. I just got caught up in, I think similar to you, in like a good job mentality. Like at the life coach school, it was great, great pay. Everything was just set up for me to stay, right? And I think 2020, I just decided, you know what? With everything going on in the world, I can't imagine being 40 and thinking like, what if I would have started that business or followed this dream? So 2020 for me was almost, I picture like a bird nest, and it's like 2020 like threw me out of the nest.
I love
You know what I'm
that.
saying?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Out of your
here
comfort
we
zone.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like, especially within business, like, because I've tried things before and they never really caught traction, or maybe I couldn't sustain the growth, probably was what it was. But now it's just really cool to see something working and like starting to take off. I don't know. It just gives me a lot of life. And now I want to help others do the same. Because as you were talking, Kate, I couldn't help but wonder what you would look like if you were still at that job. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what this podcast is for. The
Yeah.
people who are sitting in that cubicle who have that dream and they're like, I have this burning passion, but I'm
I
just
don't
not
know.
stepping out in it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like,
And I will let you share yours, Frank, but I can't remember if I mentioned this yesterday, but the moment that was like decisive for me is I was standing in the line at the canteen and just hearing everyone at work like just complaining. No one was happy around me. I just knew they were all follow like just rinse repeat of like the day and doing what they was expected. And I was just, it was like that was the vision of me in like 10 years time. And I was just like,
Wow.
I've just buried my sister. There's no way I'm going to bury my dream with her. Like we're doing
Ooh,
this. So
that's
yeah.
so good.
But Frank,
Yeah.
tell me, what's your
Um,
gift of 2020?
Man, quite a bit. Um, what Brandon said as well. Because obviously, we launched this thing together and all that good stuff.
So you guys launched, is it like, well, now Elevate Social, was that launched in 2020?
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I've been the same way, like business wise. Like I started a couple businesses, and one of them was, I would say, pretty successful for it being just me running it and not knowing what the heck I was doing. But then also it wasn't like what I wanted to do because it just took up all my time, all this stuff. But I think one of the biggest things for me, that 2020 gave me was just like, it was, I started seeing God's promises being like coming to fruition, you know? And so I've had some people tell me before that I was going to like be preaching in the future and things like that. And that's what I love. I love just communicating like what God has done in my life personally, right? And what the potential of like what he can do in your life if you let him. And it was weird because for like 3 years prior to this, I wasn't really doing any ministry or anything like that. And I started like a YouTube channel, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just in front of a camera a lot, talking a lot, getting used to that and just producing videos and videos and videos and videos. And then I started my own podcast, different things.
Yeah.
Well, then because of what happened with COVID, I got invited to speak on some platforms that I don't think I would have ever gotten invited to speak otherwise, because everyone was now in social media, and I got to like preach via Zoom twice, and one was in English and one was in Spanish, which was really cool. But I was so comfortable because I was so used to looking at a camera for the
Mhm.
past 3. So it was really weird the way that kind of happened. And then I got invited to those same events this upcoming year, and one of them's going to be live, the other one's still going to be like via Zoom. And I'm like, it was just really weird. It was like God dropping like just a little bit of like, see, son, I got you,
Yes. Yes. I love those moments. Even like me, since I was a young girl, I've loved public speaking, just expressing myself and everything. And I remember in like 10th grade, dad sits me down, you start to have the discussions of what you want to do. And I was like, I just want to speak and express. And he's like,
That's awesome.
about what? And I'm like, I don't know. And so
Anything, Dad.
he's like, you can do HR. And I was like, that sounds terrible. So,
Awful.
so I just went and like did business. And like another crazy thing is my last assignment for my business degree was on running a charity. Like it was for like a charity thing,
Oh,
like a
wow.
marketing plan. And of course I ended up running my sister's charity. I'm still now a part of it even today. So it's funny, like looking back, like had I not had practiced the skills, because I started talking. So we lost Nicole in October. I did my first talk, I believe, in March in front of school kids, like just
Wow.
Whoa.
sharing it. And, I started. So this is for everyone out there who says, but I'm not that good at it yet. I don't know how, and you see people's chapter 10s and you're comparing it to the chapter 1. I started with my notes in my hand, literally shaking. I have video footage of this somewhere, losing my place. Like my slides were like in Comic Sans, like really dodgy made like PowerPoint slides. But I left an impact on those kids because they could feel the passion behind the message. And I still remember I got feedback written on the kid, like, can I have your feedback? So they wrote some notes, and one kid wrote, you don't need your notes, just trust yourself. And that was so powerful from this young teenage boy. He saw something, this girl's got it, that it was like my security blanket for a little while. And now I try and write notes at any time, and no, they're not there. I can't even do it now. But the idea of speaking off the cuff like this a few years ago would have mortified me. So
Wow.
I just just saying to anyone out there, I always say, your ability to get good at something is directly related to your willingness to suck at it in the beginning. Like, embrace the suck. It's only, you never
That's
want to look
really
bad. You're never
good.
going to get good at something, because unfortunately a lot of things just take practice there. So don't use that excuse that you can't go after that dream just because you don't know how to do XYZ. So
I love that so
or Z,
much.
as you guys say.
So
You're probably
good.
like, Z, what's Z?
Wait, what is that?
Z?
Yes.
Are you trying to say Ted? It's Ted, Kate.
No. Z is how we say Z in Australia. Like, the UK version of Z is Z.
No way.
My
I
boyfriend
had
was,
no idea.
So it's like XYZ.
yeah. So we have like my fiance loves rugby league, our sport back in Australia, and the stadium's called ANZ. And for so long, he's like, I couldn't understand why they've just shown like what Z was. Like, I didn't know how to find this stadium, because he was putting like ZED in, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, but I was arguing with him for so long. I'm like, that's the way you say it. He's like, well, why don't we say bees is bed then? And I was like,
He makes a good point.
I know, I
Makes
lost
it
that
really
argument. Then I was like, that meme where like girls like giving you dirty? Yeah. That one.
That's so funny.
So, but of course, my last name has a Z in it, right? So constantly when they're like, can you please spell your last name, ma'am? I'm like, FITZS, because I have to remember. Otherwise, they're like probably putting, I don't know what they would put in if I tried to say that. But that reminds me, I need to teach you some Aussie slang. Well, I need you to guess. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. What do you think if I say, have you got an esky? What do you think I mean?
A beer.
Ooh, you're getting close. What do you think? I should have. Now you've got a hint.
Have you got esky?
Esky.
I think of like a Yeti or like a cold mug.
Oh, you guys are getting close. Yeah, esky's a cooler bag
Oh,
in Australia. So an esky.
That's awesome.
ESKY. You look very confused, Frank.
A cool bag?
A cooler bag.
Oh, okay. that
You
kind of
look
makes
so
sense
confused.
because it almost sounds like Eskimo. That's why I was thinking like cold.
Yeah. Well, what about a cozy?
A blanket.
What do you think, Brandon?
Robe.
A rope.
A robe. Do you know what a robe is? Right?
A robe.
Yeah.
Oh, you thought rope?
Okay, it means okay, so it's like basically like a bathing suit.
Okay.
Wait,
So how we got a cozy is because we call them like swimming costumes in Australia, and then we shortened costume to cozy. So basically, if you want to live in Australia, you just kind of shorten it up, like Prezi, like Aussie, like everything's just like shortened down. So we kind of, and then just throw I or a Y on the end, and you're Australian.
Give us another one, and one that we can probably use daily.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. Fortnite. Do you know what that is?
We all know
Video
what Fortnite
game?
is.
No, it means so fortnightly payments means every 2 weeks. So I've been saying that to people in the US, and they're like, so now I have to say bi-weekly. But then an American actually explained to me that means 14 nights, so a fortnight. I was like, how have I never figured this out?
Oh, wow. That's genius.
That makes sense. Okay,
Makes sense.
here you go. Here's a good one to say when someone says something that you think is like pretty awesome, like unreal, like no way did that happen.
Yeah,
You go,
I like that.
fair income.
Fed income.
Fair income. Did that happen?
Fed income.
Fed income.
Fed income,
Let's
bro.
So you
Fed
spell
income.
it like fair, and then it's like DINKUM. So it's like fair dinkum. So I was saying
Fair-
that like that's just an Aussie slang
fair
for like
dinkum.
yeah, far out, no way. But I said it to this little old man I was talking to one day, and we were explaining it, and he's like, "What?" I found out it means fair gold. So basically, in the gold mining ages back in Australia, there were like lots of Chinese golding, like, and they were used to call gold dinkum. So fair income used to be like fair gold, like, wow, you found gold, no way. So, oh, we've lost Brandon. So basically it means fair gold, like that's awesome. So when you get excited about something,
Dude, I
practice
had
it.
to sneeze so bad.
Fair income. Oh, there you go. I wouldn't have thought to do
The
that.
Fed income was too awesome. I just had to sneeze.
But no, there's so many. I'll have to come prepared next time, and we can do a quick 101. That could be a reel I could put up on my Instagram. Getting you guys
Oh yeah.
Just trying out
real.
Aussie
back
slang.
and forth. You know, it's good. Like, do you know what a boot is?
A boot? Yeah, it's a shoe.
It's the back of the car. What you guys call a trunk, we call a boot.
Oh, that's
Or aluminium. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say aluminium?
I just think aluminum.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's another argument in our household. And then parmesan. Do you know what I'm saying?
no.
Parmesan, you guys call it, I think. The cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Parmesan.
We call
I'm
it
gonna start
parmesan.
using boot though.
Boot. There you go.
I'm gonna
Put
start
it in the
using
boot.
Yeah, put it in the boot. Yeah.
Pop the boot.
Pop
Yeah.
it.
Kate, I do have one last question because this is like about like your big dream, right? So what is quote unquote your God dream, your massive dream, right? For your life and what you want to do with it and help people. And did COVID change that? And if it did, how?
Oh, that's such a beautiful question. I love that you put that second part at the end before I could come up with a different answer. So, so my dream instantly when you said that. So I'm about to launch a new program called Ocean. So it's basically an online coaching program that schools and families can access, where parents will get weekly online coaching calls, and then the kids also get access, but they have their two separate areas online, and they'll be learning things like the model, which Brandon will know what that means, but
Yes.
all different skills. And then I'm getting different coaches to come on and guest coach and kind of basically really fill out this gap in mental health support and education that we're seeing. So my goal would be that, the Ocean is in hundreds of schools across America and Australia, and it's a part of the curriculum, and they're making time in the day to help get the kids on and take them through the resources and things like that. And I can tell you that in the 3 years prior to COVID, I was talking about this program that I was going to put together. And I was talking about how badly I wanted to fulfill, even in my own heart, I felt heavy walking off the stage, knowing that I've pumped the kids up for, an hour, but there's only very few that would actually go and listen to my podcast or follow through on that.
Yeah.
And so it didn't sit right with my true mission in life, which is to really leave a lasting impact in a way that, inspire someone to really change. So Ocean came because of COVID. I had the time, and I also was forced to evolve, right? I had to evolve my business if I wanted to keep my head above the water and keep doing what I do. It wasn't possible to speak in person. So Oceans come together, and I love it. It's a play on words for emotion, because our emotions can often feel like, an ocean, and overwhelming sometimes. So I'm excited to kick that off this year and see where it takes me. But I will forever say thank you to 2020 for gifting me and forcing me to evolve. So that's my dream. So keep an eye out. I'll keep you busy on social media with all that stuff. So thank you.
I love that. And where can anyone listening follow you? And what is your website? Maybe drop those two.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website, please check out. You can get access to my podcast on there, learn more about the coaching, and soon Ocean will be launched on there as well. So that is katefitzsimons.com. So there's just one M in Fitzsimons, and it does have the Z in there. And my Instagram is at Kate Marie_Fitz. So that's FITZ. But yeah, check it out. Otherwise, if you didn't get that, you can reach out to one of these guys and they can pass you along. But yeah, if you've got
Awesome.
any questions or anything like that, guys, I'm really active on social. I read and respond to, you know, all the messages and everything. I think it's, for all the way people throw crap at social media, I think it's such an amazing
Yes,
gift
it
and
is.
device to connect with others right around the world. So yeah.
Yes. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Thank you.
I think that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
That was so good.
Oh yeah, you heard what I said. This is for my family, GodDream in my head. Oh yeah, you heard what I said. This is for my